and marketing and all the stuff that we're doing. First and foremost, there's two things that Limit Break needs to do. The first thing that we need to do is that we need to make the current Digi community excited. I started it wasn't my first company, but it was pretty much my first company back in 2007. And we were a Y Combinator company, and I got to spend a lot of time with Paul Graham. And he had that whole thing, make something people want. And he would really focus on, just make a small number of people really happy and then grow that small number of people. Just really, really focus on your fans. And I totally agree with that philosophy. So, everything that we do has that in mind, including a Super Bowl ad. Even when we pitch it and we tell everybody, oh, we're going to do this, we're excited about all these new people that are going to see it. We're also thinking about, well, what about the 1,000 or so people that are in the Digi community? Like, what are they going to think? So we're thinking about them a lot, right? So they're going to be a big part of this experience. And the second part is that we're in the NFT market is obviously in a tough spot right now. And, the old way of doing things, I kind of rallied against paid mints and all that stuff. But the old way of doing things is just kind of over, in my opinion. I don't think NFTs are over. NFTs are a technology, an enduring technology that I believe will be a part of everybody's life shortly. But that kind of phase that we just went through, the way of doing things, is just kind of like, it's been done and it's time for something new. So that's why we focused on a free mint for Digi. That's why if you look at, we've only been live for, just over 2 months. We've already done an airdrop, a new token type, new contract types, new, this questing system that we put out, and a bunch of other stuff. And we've got hero reveals tomorrow, and we've got this collaboration with Castaways that should be live next week. We're doing a lot, right? We're doing a lot because, like I said, I think we need this whole space needs a new approach and a more kind of like a modern approach, I guess, kind of a really kicked up version of what was done over the past year or two. So when it comes to growing the market, we have to think bigger than crypto Twitter. As much as I love crypto Twitter and I love talking to people in Web3, they kind of have like a very specific mindset. They're after certain very specific things, and it's not necessarily like how gamers think. And Limit Break is a game company, so we kind of see that clash between the gamers and the Web3 people. So we've got to cross this divide somehow. And we've seen some progress, like with Reddit, for example. Reddit did Reddit was probably the number one place for NFT haters. Probably nobody hated NFTs more than Reddit. And they did a bunch of NFT, PFPs for free, and they're extremely popular. They've converted a lot of people on Reddit and made them, big fans. Not everybody, but a lot of the people that hated it now like it. So I kind of see the Super Bowl as that opportunity. I can't go into details of exactly what we're going to do. You could probably guess, and I've seen some guesses that are pretty close. But it's an opportunity for, this is a time in culture where everybody is looking at the same thing at the same time. Not everybody, but a lot of people. Even if they're not watching the game, the commercials are trending on Twitter. They kind of go everywhere. It's really the only event where the whole, like, everybody watching is actually watching to see commercials as well. And as a result, they've done such a good job managing that as a result, it's pretty much the only commercial that people will talk about once it's over. You see commercials on TV all day long, but you don't talk about them or remember them. And this is the one event where they do. So you have this big communal experience where 100 million plus people are kind of experiencing the same thing at the same time. And it's an awesome opportunity to change culture and to change people's minds. So I think that NFTs are fun. I think they can be really cool. I think they can be desirable, something that everybody wants. And this is just it's a big opportunity for us to kind of change a lot of perceptions of what these things are. And for the company, for Limit Break, we want everybody to want our NFTs, obviously, right? We're a game company, but we want everybody to play our games. We want everybody to want our NFTs. We want to do cool stuff. I mean, that's why we're basically releasing things like every week at this point. There's nobody, I don't really see, there might be, but I don't really see anybody in the NFT space acting like us right now. And we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop, and it's going to keep going this way until we like separate ourselves from the old way of doing things and become part of the new way of doing things. So we talked about the idea for the commercial came up in August, and it's a pretty crazy idea. Like we didn't even know if Fox or the NFL would even let us do it. And when we pitched it to them, they didn't even know if they were going to let us do it. But it kind of got to the point where we ironed everything out, and they're excited about it. And I talked with our investors, of course, because they obviously know what we're doing. We're spending, this is a lot of money. It's $6.5 million just for the spot. And they're on board. Everybody's excited because we're really going to go for it. Like we're really actually going to try to take Web3 mainstream. And there hasn't been anything like this before. Maybe you can make some kind of parallels between what we're going to do and what others have done, but it's not exactly the same. And, so we're putting ourselves out there. We're going to put ourselves out there, and we're going to try our best, to do this. I mean, that's why we started the company. That's why we raised the $200 million. We didn't raise $200 million to be like quiet mice in the corner building games. Like we actually, we're taking, like, our target isn't, Web3. Our target is the video game industry, the whole thing. So we want to be the biggest player in that. I don't know if we're going to get there, but I'm going to do everything I can. And I think NFTs are actually a very disruptive force in the industry that's being overlooked by a lot of existing players because they're scared or because they don't understand it. And that's a huge opportunity for somebody new to come in and take their spot because they're moving too slow, or they're too scared, or they don't understand, or all of the above. So that's essentially, what we're out to do. But when we put it out, whenever you put something out on crypto Twitter, like, you never know how people are going to respond. And there's definitely some cynicism out there around, like, oh, it doesn't matter, nothing matters, and basically nothing you do can matter. The market's so bad. But I'm a CEO. I'm not somebody just commenting on Twitter. We raised a lot of money, and we have to do bold things. We have to try new things. We have to try to change the direction this is going. We're not going to just sit back and complain about it. We're going to actually try to do something about it. So, but I understand the cynicism. I understand the market. I understand everything that's going on. So, but everything that we do is going to be met with skepticism no matter what. Because we haven't, we've only been around for a couple months, and we're making a lot of noise. So of course people are going to, is this going to be around next month? Is this going to be around 6 months from now, and all that? I understand all that, and we have to prove a lot, but we're trying to, so I hope that, and I'm starting to see it. The conversation around Limit Break has kind of gone from, well, other people have done free mints, and kind of just getting compared. And now we're starting to get into, well, maybe that won't work. It's starting to change because people are realizing that we're going a different direction, which is what I want. I want Limit Break to be a special company in the space. And I want people to be excited about what we're doing, and for our work to be unique. So I'll stop monologuing here, and I'll I'll let Jonah in. How you doing, Josh?
Yeah, so I'll just say this transparently at the time of this space. I don't own a single digi, so I can be unbiased.
Sure.
So which I think is probably important. But I wanted to put some numbers perspective for people. Why I think this is probably a good thing. And again, I'm not a math guy, as many people know, but you paid around 6.4, 6.5 million for the placement. You're still going to need to pay several
Mhm.
million for the actual production, and if there is a celebrity, another million or two. Let's assume it's a $10 million commercial, right? Just for assumption. I have
No,
no
it
idea what
won't.
your
It
budget
won't.
is.
It won't be that much.
Okay, so if it's around 8 million, right? If it's around eight
Yeah.
million, that's only like around 4% of your budget raise. And for a game like this, if it is an MMO, you're probably going to need at least $50 million in ad spend. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that you can't really get a better deal for value than a Super Bowl ad if you're
Well,
sponsoring them.
yeah, I can respond. So some people I saw there's like, look, I've done a lot of advertising in my life, like a lot. I think career wise, I've probably spent north of $2 billion. This will be my third Super Bowl ad. It won't be my first. It'll be my third one. I've bought soccer, or AKA football. I've wrapped subways in Korea. I've had Pepsi, Game of War Pepsi cans in South Korea. I took over Tokyo Crossing, television in 30 countries, ads in the back of the seat while you're on the airplane, radio ads, billboard ads, like whatever. I've literally the movie theater ads, carved cutouts of Kate Upton in movie theater, like whatever. Like I've done it. I've done everything, and the only thing I haven't done is direct mail. That's it. Um, and I can tell you from a performance perspective, this is pre ATT, all the changes that Apple made to ad targeting. Yes, you can spend $6 million and you get kind of guaranteed, not guaranteed, but roughly your right user, or you target them and you get them. But nothing you do online affects like culture in the long term. You can maybe go viral on Twitter or on Twitter or TikTok and you kind of get a pop for a couple days. But these are actually enduring like big cultural moments. So you can't underestimate that.
Yeah, no, I was just playing with numbers because I have no idea what your budgets are for people listening. I have no clue of any kind, but you're probably going to need to spend between 50 to 75 million on ads over the course of pre-launch to whatever game you're building. Probably another 20 million for creators because you have to pay a Twitch rate
Well, if you
card, which
just
is
look
fine.
at if you look at any like EA, look at their reports, that they put out, their public reports. The marketing budgets are for big games, okay, for big games, not viral games, because some games go viral, right? But for most big games, the marketing budget's considerably larger than the development budget. That's just normal, and most gamers don't know that. They have no idea, but
Well,
it's
but
true.
that's also when the game is already has an engine and a lot like once they're in motion. I mean, you're kind of
Yeah,
starting.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and there's also kind of like a lot of marketing games do before they come out as well, right? So, anyways, but yeah, so the Super Bowl, like dollar for dollar, makes the biggest impression that you can make on a large scale for like 30 seconds of time. Also, what we're doing is like a live experience, so it's not really something I could do on TikTok. So it like the specific thing that we're going to do is better in a live setting with as many people as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the only
So,
other one that I just want to say, the only other
John,
one you could probably, yeah,
do
sorry,
you mind
go
if I
on.
talk just for a minute? I got to jump here in like
Yeah, yeah, do
five
your thing,
minutes.
do your thing.
I just wanted to kind of give a quick insight for what I'm seeing. I haven't spoken about Digi before, but full disclosure, not financial advice, and I do hold a large position in Digi. But I spent about a month researching the project. I spent about a month researching Gabe. Went through their trademarks, who their attorneys are, what I's they're dotting, what T's they're crossing. And for me, what I found most interesting was the attention to detail and Gabe's willingness to be aggressive with capital in a way that I haven't seen with other founders in the ecosystem. Other people are more in capital preservation, where Gabe is more aggressive historically from Game of War and what he's done in the past. This, I could be way wrong. This is my highest conviction bet of 2022. I put a pretty big bet for myself on this. I like what the team is doing. At first, I thought it was kind of silly, where I was like, I don't like these like anime things, and then I did a deep dive into it, and I would just encourage everybody to do a little bit of research on it, because at a topical level, it seems kind of I would just say topical or silly, but when you dive deeply into what's going on, it's incredibly nuanced and intelligent. And I got to run here in a minute, but like, I'm a very critical guy. Yeah, no, I'm very critical, and I'm very direct on what I don't like. So that's my thoughts.
Trust me, Josh is an asshole. I know firsthand. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's the opportunity here is like, look, we're a game company, not just like a PFP type thing. So I was able to spend a couple $1 billion on ads because we were making a couple $1 billion when I was at Machine Zone, right? So I was able to. That wasn't just like VC money or whatever. That was money that we're making. So I understand game monetization probably better than anybody. I think I understand better than anybody on earth, to be honest. And when I see NFTs, this is a no-brainer. Like this is easily going to take over everything for a whole host of reasons. There's a lot of reasons, but we have a problem where the way that NFTs were kind of introduced to people was through a lot of stuff like really, $100 million land sales and all this stuff for games that, don't exist or are coming out like 5 years from now or whatever. And it just turned a lot of people off, right? So when I say free to own, it's like, well, look, like NFT is a technology. It's this, it's this like decentralized file essentially. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be a $100 million land sale. It could be a lot of different things. And I think there's a lot of fun ways to work with NFTs that will excite gamers and excite people in general, especially when they don't have to pay, like a 60, whatever. I saw some crazy stuff, these crazy mints that were going on. Yeah, that turns. I mean, I don't want to name names on games, but some of these games cost $1,000 to start, right? So, how are they supposed to scale? Like how are Web3 games supposed to be something everyone plays if they all cost $1,000 to start? I mean, that's like buying 3 PlayStations. So it just doesn't make any sense. That old way just doesn't make any sense. It's not going to work. And I have a lot of conviction in what we're doing. I believe it is going to work. But I've been making games for 20 years, and I've been doing free to play since 2008. So I have a lot of experience in this, and a lot of conviction.
So I have a question back to the ads, because first of all, if I didn't believe in what you said, I wouldn't even be here. I'd just go start another company and somewhere else. I'm all in. So. The only other TV/media broadcast event that would be worth pushing ad spend towards would be the Game Awards, because it has a high concentration of Web2 individuals. Would you push ads there come December? Or why not?
Well, I bought all those too. Maybe I bought them for the wrong games, but I can tell you that, well, it depends on who you're targeting. If you're targeting men, like I was with Game Award, then you're pretty much stuck with American football, because that's the only thing that's like heavily concentrated male on television. So that's really all you have, and that's why they command such high prices, because that's the only option you have if you're targeting a male audience. Like literally that, and maybe some news networks, but that's it.
But would you go directly to the Game Awards, which will be, I think, December again this year? Very high concentration of male, but also very high concentration of content creator power / some buying power. Would you target that award show, or do you feel for Web3 gaming to really have a chance to market appropriately, you'd wait for a non-gaming event like the Super Bowl in order to get like organic opinions, rather than people who have this antiviral effect when they hear
I want to get people excited about NFTs. and NFTs work best in games, right? I mean, that's where they shine, in my opinion. So
the only reason I ask is because Blancos tried this last year at the Game Awards and it did not get well received. So that's why I didn't know.
I don't know what Blancos did though. What did they do? Did
They
just
did.
run
They
did they just run a video ad?
It was a video / Geoff Keighley explaining what the game is ad. It was more like a docu-series.
Who cares? Here's what people don't understand about games. Let me explain something to people who have never made a game before. There are 6,000 games that come out every year. 6,000. How many of them have you heard of? 50? Maybe? And that's if you're paying attention. And if you're not paying attention, you've heard of one, maybe. And out of those 6,000 games, maybe, and we've gone years where literally nothing went viral. Things are starting to go viral more often now, but I would say in a year, out of those 6,000 new games, 2 of them, if we're in a busy year, go viral. 2. But yet somehow we still have a $200 billion gaming business with 2 viral games a year. And all that money's not going to those games.
Well, okay. Bain & Co. just said $300 billion, which is very funny.
Well, $300 billion. Marketing is a big part of the gaming industry because there's not a lot of viral games and there's a lot of games making money, right? So, it's a really tough business. Like the hardest part, look, making a game is hard, making a fun game is hard, but the hardest thing out of all those things is making something people even care about. So when I think about Limit Break, I think like when people see Limit Break, they want our stuff. They want our NFTs. They want it. They want to be part of it. That's what I want. I want people to be like, oh, a Limit Break? I want that. I want that. And I think we've already got that kind of effect. If I gave out, and we're not doing this, but if we did a free mint right now, how many of our critics would want it?
Well, actually, there's data to support that because.
But no, Jonah, my question is, how many of our critics, the people who are critical of us, would turn down a free mint from us right now?
Oh, no, none. It's free.
Well, hold on. But how many? What's the number?
How many would turn them down? I don't know. I don't know.
Zero. The answer is 0.
So.
But hold on. But we earned that, didn't we?
Yeah.
We earned that. We're earning that. We're earning that. No one will turn it down because we're earning that. We're working every day. We're shipping all the time. We're showing our community we care about them. We're supporting them. And what do you think the effect of nobody wanting to turn down a free NFT will be?
Well, that would be mass adoption.
Right. That's right.
And your partnerships are top. I'll say your partnerships are very good.
My point is that the NFT space has been mismanaged, and it's been run in a way that is very advantageous for the founder, and not really great for the market. But you can make a lot of money really fast, so people are going to do that, right? But from a brand perspective, it's been mismanaged. From what I want is when people see Limit Break, if I ever give away another free NFT, everyone's going to want it. And what's the hardest part about what did I say is the hardest part about making a game? Getting people to care. So when we go out to the Super Bowl, we're going to provide a really great experience for the Digi holders. Really great. Like VIP. What I have planned for them, they're going to lose it, I think. Because I'm trying. I want them to be excited. I want them to be happy. And the people who witness that, they're going to want to be part of it too, naturally. And this is how you grow Web3. This is how you do it. And we're taking risks. Look, doing this stuff's not easy. It's going to be a huge technical challenge. It's not easy to do. There's always a risk of failure. But that's not the only thing we're going to do either. A lot of people missed out. They missed in the thread that in there. To other marketing initiatives. This is just one thing we're doing.
Well, it's only it's about 4% or so of your budget. It's not
well, really but everything that we're doing feeds back into the Digi collector. Everything. So, and that effect that we're going to get by treating these people good, making fun experiences for them, we want to be, one of the premier NFT makers out there. And when you combine that with a game developer, I think that's explosive, personally.
So let me ask you this: when it comes to partnerships, because that's where you're getting very premier other things you've personally invested in prior, which this is not like secret information. You can just Google this on Crunchbase. So I'm not
What the Castaways thing?
Castaways. Well, you've also, which is, there's no partnership yet, but you've done Parallel, which I love. They're a great group. So what's it going to take? Do you think? And I know you're going to say yes, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Do you think you have a significant competitive advantage, or do you even care about competitive advantage when it comes to acquiring what I guess you can call interoperable partnerships? Because a lot of people talk about how they've done things before you, but I mean, that doesn't mean
the things that we're doing are very different, even with Castaways. Like we essentially like a crypto like OAuth system, and we made these derivatives of Digi's Genesis through adventure keys that they're allowed to, keep or trade or whatever as like a pass to get inside of the Castaways event, which is very, very new. And we're going to scale that. And I just said may not make sense to people, it's like it's kind of complicated, but I want Digis to be in everything. First of all, like everything. And we have a dozen or more games right now that want to put Digis in because they see what we're doing and they think it's exciting. And I'm going to keep that going. My dream, I don't know if I'm going to get there, but I want Digis in 1,000 games, right? That's the whole point of Web3. And we've got a technical structure to do that in a way that really benefits the DigiGenesis collector. And, every new game that we connect to is another adventure key that gets airdropped to them for free. And that's a very scalable business model. And I think we've actually created, maybe it doesn't end up being the final one, but it's a serious contender to be a real business model around interoperability. So it's not just us making games. Like, I want to see this IP in everything. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we picked anime. Like if you look in any free to play game and you look at skins, right? Like the skins that people want, the anime ones are always the ones everybody wants. So like we've got in every game. So like we've got the right characters that can fit in every game naturally. And I want to put them in every game. So we spent a lot of time.
Let me ask the vice versa though, because this is where I'm really curious. Because again, you have a significant budget to actually make a real MMO. Like anyone who raises just 40 million or something, they can make a good game, but they cannot make an MMO. You have actual budget to do it.
Yeah.
Now you are going to have your character in all these games, and probably like other entities or brands that aren't even just games eventually.
Right.
How does someone like me, like I was, I'm selfish, right? If I build characters, I want to get into the Digiland. Like, how would I bring?
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna have it. It's gonna be two ways. It's gonna be two ways. Like we're gonna, yeah. Our games are gonna take everybody's NFTs. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We've already got really serious plans for all that. Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
I don't know if this will give out anything too early, but do those other creators, like I'll use myself, do I have to go and make sure they're something that can work in Unity, or is it something that you just worry about art for now and you may have a team and later they can help
everybody thinks about this wrong. Like they think about this whole like interoperability thing is just the thinking process behind it around like, well, my model doesn't work from one game to the next. It's like, who cares? Like it's more about the community moving from one game to the next. And what the visual representation in the game is not really as important as everybody makes it out to be. They say, well, and I think the problem is like pictures are really confusing. So if I make an NFT that has like a gun on it, right? They'll be like, well, that's an NFT of a gun. Well, not really. It's actually property. It's somebody's property. Okay. And that property, yeah, it has like a picture of a gun on it, but it doesn't necessarily represent a gun. It represents property, actually. That's what it really represents. And that property can be moved around from application to application. And what that property does in each application can be unique. So maybe a gun isn't the right thing to make. You see what I'm saying? Because it just confuses people. So
can I tell you a concern I've been seeing that I would like to get
Yeah.
your thoughts on? Like, because
Yeah.
I understand that part, and that's awesome.
Yeah, so I tend to speak in like, I'll just be really direct. If I own a gun in one game, it doesn't mean I can't unlock a car in another game because I owned a gun. You see, like the interoperability is more about communities moving around and unlocking experiences that are unique to them because of a property that they own inside of each game or virtual world or whatever. So yes, maybe a majority of the time the NFT looks like a gun, but if you're in a racing game, that doesn't make sense. But that's okay. They can make a special car that represents your community instead, and then you have to own the gun to get that car. You see, that's the right way to think about it. Like games, the future of games, which is like next year, games should work with every other game by default. And every game should work with every NFT by default. And there's a lot of ways to do that. It doesn't have to be just straight up like a visual representation of the NFT inside the game. It could be done through like exchange rates. It could be done through all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of ways to solve that problem.
Yeah, well, so I understand that as well. There was another woman I talked to who's working on something similar, but obviously you're at scale, and I think that matters. Like being, you can say you can say all the great things in the world, but you have to be at scale to actually do them. My question would be,
it's expensive to make games.
Right, it's very expensive. So my question it revolves around creators, and I'm seeing an issue with a lot of Web3 games, and I want to get your point as to whether you think that was a good strategy or a bad strategy and why. So there's a lot of creators in Web3 directly who would be great brand advocates for games. And there's even some that are already doing content creation for games. But what happens is a lot of Web3 creators do a lot of the hard work to get the game out to market, or at least help advertise it. And then those game studios, which are in Web3, are then like, oh, thanks. Now I'm going to go to Shroud, or I'm going to go to Ninja, and I don't need you anymore. Do you think that a content creator should not be worrying about being a Web3 gaming content creator at all and just being a normal content creator? Or where do you see content creation evolving for, you've got Super Bowl, right? You've got Game Awards, but then you obviously do these rate cards for Twitch streamers, YouTubers.
Sure.
Twitch.
Well, not every game. First of all, not every game needs those people, right? Like certain types of games do well with those people, and certain types of games don't. Like the game industry is a really big industry. You don't see like, I know not that we're making anything like this, but there's like solitaire games that are pulling down $300 million a year on mobile, so like, and there's no Twitch streamer like streaming that stuff. So it's like, it depends on what you're making. But to answer your question, the Web3 creator, yeah, I think they should do that because I think Web3 is about to become a real thing. And eventually the ninjas or whatever they move over to. Well, you're already seeing it with Dr. Disrespect didn't he just do a mint with 400,000 people?
So 400,000 applied, but
yeah,
most of them didn't get it.
400,000 applied. Like this guy's not a Web3 guy. This guy's the pinnacle of Web2. So
there you go, creators listening. You're on notice. You better improve your content because you're going to be competing with the normal
but
people.
I don't think specializing in Web3 is a bad idea because there's like NFTs, and you see an NFT and you like, what is that? And then there's kind of like, what's the ecosystem like what's pseudo swap? What's what are all these different services out there? They're not going to necessarily talk about that, and the gamers are going to get into that stuff, of course. So I do think there is an opportunity for more people who are more specialized talking, but just playing a game because it's Web3, maybe you're gonna have to probably do a little bit more than that.
So my final question, because I assume you have a lot of things to do, and maybe others want to come up. I don't know how you want to organize.
Yeah. I'll take some questions. I got like 20 minutes. I can stay.
Yeah. So my final question, because I will bet that if they're on burners or if they're on their accounts, there are people who are building games right now who are listening.
Yeah.
And
sure.
what I would say is, someone who has extreme expertise in marketing, how would a game with a significantly smaller budget try and go to market in this space? And your advice as someone who specializes in marketing.
Nowadays things are really tough after ATT changed with Apple. I have an answer for it, which is free NFTs. So I have an answer. And like I said, everybody wants a free limit break NFT. And my job is to make sure, first of all, to get everybody to know what limit break is. And then I have to get them to understand that they could get an NFT from us. They may not everybody will get one, but you might. And that's where I think the excitement really comes from. I think that's the real opportunity. That's how you do it. Whether you're big or small, that's how you do it. But what Limit Break is doing is putting all of its might, like everything we have behind Digi, like everything, because we want everyone to know like how we take care of our community.
Awesome. You should definitely go to some questions here. There's a lot of people who want to hear from you.
Sure.
So probably Disaster, I would assume he came up first.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So I've seen a lot of your posts, and I'm very conflicted on how to actually view it. I've been in like NFT gaming for about 2 years, and I agree on the free to own model working. But in the model that we're discussing, like you mentioned the Dr. Disrespect model, or Jonah did, and like that's 400,000 applying because also there was only 10,000 NFTs, and that's why, in my opinion, Digidaiku's working out so well, is because there's a finite amount of them. And so, is your model like? Because obviously, if you give everyone free to own, it's just essentially a free to play game where the initial NFT is valueless because everyone can always get one for free. So what?
No, that depends on the complexity of the economy.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, because if you gave everybody the same NFT, yeah. But like if your economy has enough depth to it, then not everybody would need the same thing.
Right. Well, let me put it this way. So if you're a free to play game, everyone comes into the game base level, whatever. You have a zero level one character. Like if you're a World of Warcraft, you could create a custom character. They can all be different, but they're all the same. As far as like their level and
scale. But I think but you keep So let me try to explain it again. Like if everything is World of Warcraft is more than just characters, right? So in your example, you say, well, you give everybody a character, so then it's all the same because everybody just has a character. But World of Warcraft is more than characters, right? It's items as well, and those items are really diverse. So you don't have to give everybody the same thing.
Yeah. So. Totally agree on that. From like a
value is like what you're mentioning is like, okay, so supply really matters, right? Mm-hmm. Well, supply. This is where games come in, because supply of what? It's a real question. Supply of what? Like if I have a million different items in the game and you need them all, well, that's a different scenario then, don't you think?
Yeah, 100%. So that's what I was trying to get to, because right now, it's not free to own a Digi, right? I have to go buy it off of someone else. And so the model that I'm curious, I guess, is the model you're creating where the entry level will likely be free to get into the game, but then the things you're going to be giving away for free beyond that will be limited in nature, similar to how Digi is right now.
Well,
so that all
we're building like
exclusive, limited.
We're building hybrid free-to-play games. Like there are going to be free in the App Store. We're building mobile games. And we kind of like, there's a certain segment of people that you want to move over to NFTs, and so how you manage all of that stuff, I think the way that we could sit down and talk about this, like a better way to, but I think the way that you're thinking about it is like, well, everybody comes in and they just get the NFT, right? Well, I mean, do people want it? If that's the case, do they even want it if everybody gets it, right? And then your answer is no, so that's obvious, right? So wouldn't you handle that differently? Like, wouldn't you be running in-game events? Like, wouldn't you be building like loops around these things and to make people like compete for them and want them? Like, because people have to want them, right? So
100%.
you need to have some kind of demand engine in order to support all that.
Yes, and that's exactly where. So I guess that's
Yeah.
that's kind of the narrative that I'm getting most confused about, because you've talked a lot about everything's free to own. Well, it's not, because to own it, it has a cost value proposition that if I could sell it for 10 ETH, it's not free to own anymore. It costs 10 ETH to get into that ecosystem.
But people
And
who
so-
got them, but people who got those paid 40 cents for gas.
Sure, yeah, and that's kind of the key difference there in that narrative, though. It's not. That's where I was trying to get with the actual game.
Yeah,
model
I
you're
think
presenting.
you know, once you get into a game, like all of the stuff is a lot more scalable, right? Because once you have a like virtual
Totally
economy,
agree.
once you have virtual economy, then you look at Digi. If you looked at Digi and you looked at Doctor Disrespect, right? We're both kind of in the same scenario, right? Pre-game, all that stuff.
Well, the only
Yep.
difference is the doc does have an alpha that gets released every 2 weeks. It's
Sure,
a little
but it's
different.
not. But it's not like but it's not complete, and no one thinks.
No,
complete.
it's not complete, and only
Yeah.
like of the 10,000 holders, maybe like 5% of them actually play the alphas. The rest just hold and wait to see.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but it's a similar scenario to where we are now. I mean, maybe not exactly the same, but it's similar.
Yeah, and so basically the last thing I want to hit, I'll ask a question next, but what the point in particular was about the Apple 30%, and you kind of refuted it. I don't know if it was a joke or not. That's also what I want to kind of figure out.
Sure.
You said, well, the future is free to own. But in your scenario, Apple laid out that peer-to-peer marketplaces would also be hit with that 30% fee.
Yeah, that's a
and
good
so now
question.
sure, they claim it for free, but now that person shilling out 30% to sell it,
Right.
your marketplace inevitably fails if you have a 30%
Right.
tax on everything that's purchased in your ecosystem.
Yeah, that's right. So what that would mean is that marketplaces are not on iOS. That's all it would mean. Because at the end of the day, these NFTs are decentralized objects, right? They're decentralized virtual objects. And the important part about that announcement was Apple is okay with me putting an Ethereum wallet in the game and giving people NFTs or a Polygon wallet or whatever. It's okay with me doing that. Now, once that wallet happens and that NFT is there, the player can put that NFT wherever they want. They can,
But do you think
they can put it, they can just send it to a MetaMask and go trade it on OpenSea. Now, is that ideal? No, but is it a foot in the door? Yes, in a really big way. So I think when people look at the 30% thing, they just get stuck on the trading, like the marketplaces, and that's not the important part. That's not the part that matters. Like, if the NFT is worth money, they will get it on a marketplace. Okay.
right?
You don't have to worry.
Point, though.
You don't have to worry about that part. Like, imagine playing a game. Okay. Like, but let me just give you a scenario. Imagine playing a game and you get an NFT, right? And it turns out that's a rare NFT. It's in your wallet and it's worth a bunch of money, right? Aren't you gonna move heaven and hell, which is not going to be much, to just send it to a MetaMask?
That's not my point. My point, though, is that do you think Apple's going to be that naive to not know that? And then
No. That was the point. Yeah. That was the point. No, they can't. That was the point of me being excited about it, because there's no way, if they give me a wallet, they can't stop the user from sending the NFT outside of the game. They can't.
Sure,
That's
but they
the
can
nature.
remove your game from their ecosystem.
Right, but they said that's okay though. That
No,
was
they
the
said
point.
it's okay for it to have NFTs as long as they're collecting the 30%. My
Right,
scenario, though,
yeah.
I'm trying to say is that
So, yeah, but the NFT is decentralized in nature. So are you saying they're NFTs that can't be sent anywhere? That's
no,
your
I'm saying
impression?
no, I'm saying you do your model, and then
Right.
ultimately people
No, hold on,
circumvent it
hold
because
on. They're not circumventing anything because it's the nature of an NFT.
they're
It's like
circumventing the
Netflix,
fee that Apple's
right?
trying to collect.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not circumventing anything, because like if I give you an NFT and it's in a wallet, they already have wallets in the. So you think that Apple's saying you're not allowed to send this NFT anywhere?
Disaster. Just there actually was a court case that actually had a
Well,
judgment.
hold on.
rule.
But I think we're close on here. But I think let me prove my point. Disaster. Do you think that Apple is saying you're not allowed to you're allowed to hold an NFT, but you're not allowed to send it anywhere?
I think they're saying if you want to be able to do that within the Apple ecosystem, like play
Send
Axie
it.
Infinity,
No,
for
send
example.
the NFT. Send the
No,
NFT.
that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying Axie Infinity is a game fully
Right.
built on token and chain. And so they're saying we don't want that game on here unless for all of the marketplace volume that you're recurring with those NFTs, since your game is on our device, is
you keep
place
going back
with
to the
Apple
marketplace.
in terms.
Yeah, you keep going back to the marketplace, and that's sort of my point. Like, they don't need a marketplace; they just need a wallet. And once they have a wallet, they can send the NFT wherever they want, and there's nothing Apple can do about it because that's the nature of wallets. Now, if they banned wallet,
they would ban the game though because they're not keeping it in the ecosystem.
Disaster. I don't think they can. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
They can't. They can't. If they ban the game, then they have to ban NFTs because it's the nature of NFTs. See my point? Like, you can't stop users from sending NFTs from place to place. And otherwise, like, why?
Correct, and that's what I think will happen. I think that they will. I think that they will roll over on their terms, or they will.
No, but Disaster. I'm saying I'm almost positive they can't because of the judge ruling.
Like even okay. So you're saying that they're letting you put in wallets, but they want it only like semi-functional wallets where you can't send the NFT anywhere. My point is that Apple's not stupid. They're in the middle of Silicon Valley. They know they have several crypto companies on their platform already. They already have wallets where you can send NFTs and do all that stuff. And they're telling everybody, knowing full well what a wallet is, what it's capable of, that they're allowed to put wallets in their games and NFTs. So, like, I think what you're saying, your opinion that they're going to realize that they're just going to send those NFTs to MetaMask and trade them over there. I think that's kind of crazy that you think that they don't realize that when they already have MetaMask, they already have like several wallets on their platform.
The point then circumventing back would just be then why would they?
But it's not really
initially the 30% fee they want to collect.
But it's not circumventing; it's just moving the NFT.
Right, I agree, and I fully understand the decentralized part. That's why I was so shocked that Apple put out the 30%.
Me too. That was
unenforceable.
Exactly. That's why.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's exactly why I'm excited.
But the enforceable method is they say, "Hey, we're realizing you're giving away all these NFTs, and there's a whole marketplace where they're generating $10 million in volume a month. We're getting no share of that. We either want to share or we're going to remove your game from our app store."
Right. So that would mean that they're banning NFTs then. Because so you see what I'm saying? Like, you're trying to have it both ways with this argument. You're saying, well, they're allowing NFTs, but they don't know what they're allowing, and as soon as they allow it, figure out what they allow, they're going to ban it.
I don't think that they're actually allowing NFTs in the true form that you and I understand it to be.
No, they
because
are.
Otherwise,
you can go play. You can go play. Horizon already does this right now. Go play it.
No,
it's already live.
It's okay. I get it. I don't want to take too much time. I appreciate the insight.
No. I'm saying this already exists today. Like, you can go play Horizon right now, and this is exactly how it works.
Yeah, you could play Thetan Arena before too. I understand that they exist right now. I'm just saying it's a small market. It's not that much volume. It hasn't really scaled. Sure. Once it scales and there's $1 billion in volume a month in gaming,
well, you know what?
They're going to lose a ton of their share.
I am an expert in the App Store. I know how these people work better than you. I'm going to agree with you a little bit here because, like, there's a guy's name. I won't give you his name, but he's still on my contact list. Like, and when he called me, it's like, oh, this guy's I call him the Grim Reaper of the App Store because he would only call you to tell you that you're going to get suspended or whatever. And, you know, I've had conversations with app stores where, like, we were doing stuff that they hadn't seen before, and I was like, well, there's no rule against it. And on the call, they're like, well, there's a rule against it now. So, like, I get what you're saying, but I totally get it. And, like, as it scales, maybe they freak out about it or whatever. But also remember that Axie did have 1 million, and this is, they had the play to earn and all stuff, but they had over 1 million daily players on side-loaded Android apps. 1 million.
Yeah, they had close to 3 million daily active views.
Yeah, but 1 million people, 1 million. That's not trivial.
No, I know, but the point is, but here's the thing, because I agree with you 100% on the future of NFTs in gaming.
Yeah,
it's inevitable. In that model, Apple loses so much fucking money. I don't see them rolling over and being like, "I'm cool."
Well, we don't know.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. because they're
Well,
not
they have
transacting
to. They
through
have
Apple.
to ban wallets then. And right now they've allowed
I
them.
literally don't think they can. So like what I've been trying to say is I'm pretty sure they have.
Well, I understand what you're saying,
a
Jonah.
ruling
But
on
like,
them.
these guys are kind of like bigger than the.
Yeah, I know they could
Big.
try to change the rule, but this was an Epic Games versus Apple court case. The judge
Right.
ruled that they cannot prohibit outside payment options, and wallets could be considered that.
We were there. We were live in the App Store in January 2009, and there was only like we back then they used to have like RPG categories, and we were only like one of 10 RPGs on the store. So like I know what it's like better than anybody. What it's like dealing with the app stores, and I totally understand the apprehension or around the fear that they're going to change their minds. But the decision that they've made, I believe they understand the implications of it. So, and you don't. So that's where we disagree.
You should go to Remnant next, the guy who actually debriefed your adventure contract.
Oh, sure. Hey.
GM, hey guys.
Hey. Nice to hear
great.
from you.
Yeah, nice to hear from you too. And Jonah and fam, love what y'all are doing. Love the announcement today. I have some questions about Heroes tomorrow. Just super excited, but just some quick comments. Like, free to own. Like the way I think about it is, it's a free to play game. You're rebranding it, and you're basically saying, look, we're giving you NFTs for free because selling NFTs is not our business model. That's what free to own means. It doesn't mean that the NFTs are always free and have no value forever. It means that the company
free to play meant the exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think the Apple business model, like taking a 30% fee, is like a forever. Like, I don't think it's long for this world. I mean, I would have said that 10 years ago too.
I totally understand Disaster's point of view. Like I said, the only thing we disagree on is that Apple. His opinion is that Apple doesn't understand what they've done, which I guess is possible. Right. But I think they do, because they've had crypto in the App Store for a long time.
I just think web technology long term like gets around the sort of like closed.
Well, once you have a wallet, the real Trojan horse is a wallet, right? Once you have a wallet, that's it. Like the marketplace is kind of like the marketplaces would be better in the App Store, obviously, but like there's hubs at the end of the day, and as long as the things that go through the marketplaces are the NFTs, and the NFTs need wallets. So if you have a wallet in everything, that's 99% of the problem.
Yeah. And just really quickly on the collabs idea, like the mobile game space in Japan, these collabs are so common. And I mean, just a great example recently, the Cyberpunk anime on Netflix. Mm-hmm. I anecdotally just resubscribed to Netflix just to go watch it. And Cyberpunk, which I mean had a like tragic launch, all kinds of bugs, like everyone was so hyped about that. I don't know if you guys remember when that game launched, but it was a disaster. Yeah. And now they're getting like peak players. I think millions of people played the game since that anime launch, and it's just the power of IP and like the power of like building your world in your fans' minds, and so they're thinking about that world as a place that exists, and like the stories that unfold there, the characters, the lore. Like, there's a real magic there. And like, just after watching that anime, now I actually want to go play that game again and see how it's going. And so when I think about the Digi collabs going with other games, not only are you leaning into what's like culturally so big in Japan already between mobile games, but you're also leaning into anime, which is such a driver of culture, and the fact that like you're putting your lore and you're putting your world more out there in your fans' imaginations and creating that sort of like drive to learn more, to dig in. But I do have
like when
Heroes,
we do
like point that out.
So but Castaways has its own fans that don't own Digis, right? And very soon, most likely next week, they're going to see Digi characters running around the game. So, I mean, that's a discovery moment for them. And so every game that we go into, a majority of the existing audience won't know about digis or don't have one. So that's the point, right? Because that's how you grow it. But anyway, so what's your question about heroes?
Okay, two questions about heroes. The first is like, as a player of this like on-chain game, as a participant, like I think it'd be super fascinating to like have a moment to look at the DNA, the reveal, and think like, do I want to make a warrior with my like rare katana digi, or do I want to go with a royal? And like, will there be like, you know, a day or two to like kind of look at the reveal and make that decision?
Oh yes. So we've seen a couple of people have made these kind of like I'll just call them, for lack of a better term, these breeding contracts with the, as you've seen, with the Genesis and the spirits that we put out, and we're working on something like that. That's a lot more, advanced, because we know what we're going to do. But yeah, so yes.
Okay, so basically, we don't have to like, we're not going to miss the hero airdrop if we don't quest today.
No, not today. No.
Okay, and one more question. Actually, I'll save it. Come back to me because I just forgot it.
No problem. All right. Anybody else?
You can go to Ento. I do have one other point I want to make on Apple.
Hey, I'll wait. Sure. No, wait, Ento, you have a question? You can go ahead and unmute, Ento.
Hello, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I think it's a bit awkward because I think the conversation has moved on a bit, but just circling back to the Super Bowl ad.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm a collector, and I typically invest in what you might call sort of the Series A stage of an NFT project, where they've gotten that initial traction and may or may not become the next blue chip project. And I've been looking at Digi for some time now. And I guess my question is, given the current bear market sentiments, where we are from a macro perspective, and I get that we want to, bring on more Web 2 people into the space. Sure. But during a time where most companies are actually laying people off and restructuring and bracing for a long period of stagflation, does paying for an ad that costs $6.5 million per 30 seconds make sense during this time?
We think so. I mean, we talked it over. I mean, everybody, it wasn't like a conversation that, it wasn't a decision that was just made overnight. It was several months working on this. And, I understood that question would come up, and I totally get it. But, we did raise a lot of money, so it's not really impacting our business in a big way. And we have to the whole point of this is to build a big company, and we have to do crazy things. So we have to do things that are exciting. We have to do things that are big. We have a big valuation. We did raise a lot of money, so we're playing a different game.
I'm just curious, I guess, I know Limit's raised quite a bit of money, but at the same time, just being unsure of how long this recession is going to last for. I guess just taking that in account, I get there's been money raised, but I'll just be honest, just as someone who's circling Digi, this news has me feeling just a bit bearish. I understand that there are funds, but what's
we raised $200 million. So our run rate right now is like a decade.
Yeah, but I'm also being cognizant that producing games are not a cheap endeavor. I'm just someone who's trying to look.
Yeah. So our current run rate is over a decade. So I'm not worried about it. I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, but factoring into the fact that during a bear market, royalties may not be rolling in.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the situation, look at us right now. As NFTs get more and more valuable, the air gets thinner and thinner, right? There's just less and less people willing to. So if you thought we were optimizing prefer that? Like, wouldn't we want, prices to go down so we could get more volatility? We're not. Like, we're releasing stuff every week. That's not the kind of thing that you would do if you were obsessed with royalties.
Right.
I think. But I appreciate the concern, but we're going to be okay.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're a video game company, so we have to make money in games.
Good point. Remedy, you want to go? Or you want me to go real quick?
Yeah, either way.
Well, I'll just say real quick on the App Store. The only thing that I think is bizarre, and I wonder what your thoughts are on this, is they don't take 30% from anything else other than gaming.
Right.
Like, they don't take it from trading stocks, from buying groceries, Amazon, eBay, nothing.
Yeah.
And the eBay is the most close comparison because it's just peer-to-peer marketplace, just like an OpenSea. So, really curious to see how that all plays out. And I
understand where you're going with that.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of insight and opinions on that I don't want to share in a space. But they do focus on games for sure.
Yeah, so pretty crazy. But hey, thank you for the time. Thanks for talking.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Okay, I got found my other hero question.
Sure, go ahead.
I'll try to not get too technical on this. So you've got the Royals, that's the matching Digi numbers, Digi IDs. You've got the Warriors, that is Digi plus the Spirit with a mismatch.
Yeah.
If I take Digi number 1 Spirit and sell it, and then someone combines Digi number 1 with Digi number 2 to make a Warrior, that Warrior hero, where does that bloodline now match? Does it match with the Digi number 1 where it came from, or does it match with the Digi number 2?
No, they get both. They get both in the traits.
What? No, so like a good match, like going forward, is both 1 or 2.
No. They get blended between the two.
Okay, right. In terms of DNA, but what about when you say best match versus it's good, it's great, it's best?
Well, the match. But those match definitions are going to be changing. It's not going to stay stay the same way.
Okay. Well, So, would I want if I have this Warrior that came from number 1? Do I want to go get Digi number 1 now, or do I want to keep it with Digi number 2?
You'll see. I have an answer for that.
Okay.
But you'll see. Okay. You'll see. Yeah, we've thought through all that stuff. But I totally get your question. But it's not the same thing anymore. It's because it's getting more complicated when you have two sides now.
Sweet. Okay. So excited for tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow's gonna be a good reveal. The art looks great.
Oh yeah.
Anybody else? Let me see. I got a couple people. Oh, my favorite, Peace Landbread is here. My best friend. And I don't know. I'll take a couple more questions. Oh, okay, of course. All right. Why don't we go? Does anybody have their hand raised? Does anybody want to go next? I don't see any hand raises. I just see people. Okay. All right, Peace. Let's go, buddy.
Hey, Gabe. What's up, man?
How you doing, buddy?
So I did have a question real quick.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
What direction do you feel one way or the other about Apple going with non-custodial wallets? Do you think that's not a possibility?
I'm not. Can you expand?
Sure. So when you purchase cryptocurrency on, say, Robinhood or Venmo or PayPal, you are unable to transfer any of that out to other wallets because the wallets are non-custodial.
That's a technology problem. You can do it on Coinbase.
Yeah. Just every little.
That's more of a problem with Robinhood than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just wondering if Apple will go in that direction to preserve the 30%. I could see that.
Oh, I mean, they already have it. I mean, it's already been, Coinbase has been on there forever.
But in the instance of games, you don't think they'll
Right.
go non-custodial. You think we'll be able to use our own wallets.
I think that if you can sell an NFT, so what everybody was focused on was selling an NFT, right? So let's say in-app purchase, right? And remember, they said you have to buy it with dollars, US dollars, through in-app purchase, okay? So if I buy an NFT, I have to buy, let's say the max you can spend is $100 on the App Store too. So I see a game and it has an NFT, which by the way, like, could be bundled with other Web 2 like style free to play stuff. Like you can do a sale that has virtual currency, like a normal Clash of Clans style thing that also includes an NFT with it, right? Because there's no reason not to do that. So anyway, so you get your NFT. Somehow you get your NFT. Maybe it's part of a bundle. Maybe you buy it directly, like whatever it is. That NFT has to go to a wallet in order to be an NFT, right?
Yes, but
So,
it doesn't have to
like,
be a wallet
it
you
doesn't-
control.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a wallet that you can send from, right? I guess. They haven't said anything like that because wallets are all over the App Store. There's thousands of wallets. And they all work the same way. You can send NFTs. So that's my assumption that they've already accepted the fact that there's going to be wallets inside of games.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, I hope you're right. It'll be
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, we already have examples. There's already games live right now. So
okay. Well, yeah. Then there you go.
yeah, I mean, Disaster's point was that they're going to turn on it because they're going to realize they lost all this revenue as people just send their NFTs out to MetaMask and trade them on OpenSea or whatever. I think they already understand that. They've been dealing with that for, at least 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's hard to put that genie back in the bottle.
Exactly. That's why I was so excited about it. It's like once you get a wallet, it's game over. All right, that's all you need.
Hey, it's game over, baby. See you at the Super Bowl. All right, man. Thanks. Have a good one.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Sage.
Hey, Gabe.
How
Happy
doing?
to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Have been enjoying the conversation here. Full disclosure, I hold 2 digits, so I have some biases here. And my schedule is free on February 12th, 2023, so I'll be waiting for my VIP invites for the Super Bowl. We talked a little bit in DMs and stuff. I'm a big fan. I'm super excited about the news for the Super Bowl ads. I don't understand how people in the NFT and Web3 space kind of think that Web3 is detached from real life. Like how you pop that bubble then, right? Like this kind of big ads is for me a logic step for mass adoption. So I don't know how anyone can be bearish on this. Like people, I don't know, for some reason
I didn't see anybody really be. Well, I mean, Etonology. I don't know. I can't see her name. She was bearish on it,
I've seen some but whatever.
I've seen some
haters
posts on Twitter, but they're all saying the same thing, that it won't work, right? And first of all, they don't even know what we're doing, so that's the first. Second of all, like, can we just let us try? Try
people,
first, like before you dunk on me and say it failed. Like, can we at least try?
Exactly.
So
I thought like Web3 was about like pushing boundaries and stuff,
I could tell you why, because they're cynical. Like it's. Being cynical comes from being hopeful, okay? If you're cynical, it's because there's a small part of you that hopes something good will happen. Do you see? It's not that you can't be, if you don't think there's any hope, you're not cynical anymore. You just don't care.
Yeah,
okay?
You don't pay attention.
So, you just don't even pay attention. So if you're cynical, it's because you've heard a lot of people say they're going to do stuff before and it didn't work out, right? And I get that. I totally get that. And I'm not saying we're here to like turn around all of crypto. I mean, they're kind of putting that all on my back, right? Like I saw one comment was like, well, a lot of good crypto.com did. It's like, well, I mean, so what does that mean? The whole economy is going bad. So nobody, all the ads were pointless then? Because like every ad that everybody ran on worldwide, it was pointless because the economy's bad now. It's a silly way to think. It's a ridiculous way to think. But but it just comes from, like I said, it actually comes from it's negativity coming. It's like you have a hopeful part inside of you, and you don't want it to get out of control, so you get really negative to try to contain the hope because you've been, it hasn't worked out in the past. So I understand, but I say I say like just let us run the ad. Like let's see what happens, right? I mean, it's our risk anyways. We're taking the risk, and at the end of it, like it's not really gonna do anything, towards like financially to us, and I don't think it's going to be bad for Web3 in any way, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily bad from us. I
personally think it's going to be huge for Web3, but yeah.
Well, I also don't think, but I think that what we're planning to do is going to be going to be adopted pretty quickly because it's obvious and it's cool. So. Anyways, but that's my point. But cynicism comes from
a place of love,
fading hope. It's like they still have some glimmer of hope, and that's where it comes from.
That is true. That is a super good point. So I don't want to overextend myself. So I'm gonna ask like a couple of questions here really quickly. I have my own Web3 game, as you know, so I think about some of these things as well, and curious to get your insight. So, how do you go from like gated access to basically the experiences in Limit Break, Digital Yaku?
The gated thing should have never happened.
No, I know, but of course,
the whole gated, like you must own this NFT to play the game should have never happened. That's why Web3 isn't big. That's the number one reason.
Yeah, that kind of answers my question a little bit, but yeah, I was wondering like, when does DG go from like you have these entities, which I'm privileged to have, of course, and you generate assets and you get access to these games, to is it like a 0 to 1? Like now we hit this threshold and now the games are free and everyone can play and like own NFTs by playing, or is it like little by little we're gonna start like having these second layers of access, third layers, and eventually it is free? Yeah.
So when the game comes out, the game's gonna be free. Anybody can play it. The digis are going to keep doing, I can't really talk about the future. I can't.
No, that's fine. I don't want to push. I'm not fishing for alpha here.
I understand. No, I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm not fishing for alpha, just wondering, like, okay, you already answered my question, by the way. Like, the games are free. That's what I was looking for. And
that was always the biggest mistake. I mean, I don't want to call out big names, but having like a $1,000 NFT required to even play the game is not going to grow the industry.
No, definitely that's definitely not gonna fly. But I was wondering, I don't know, like scan this code during the Super Bowl and you get like 1 million people, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And eventually, like it is free. Yeah, I was just wondering how you make that transition, but it's good. It's like a 0 to 1 thing.
The digis are its own entity, and like
it's gonna be like premium skins in the end. That's the way, like or something like that.
Well, I can't say, but I can't say because I'm an American and I can't say. So
okay, but let's not get the SEC involved here. Yeah, the other question that I have is like, why have this system where you are dropping the spirits and turning like the spirit, for example, into the warrior, right? What's the psychology behind that versus just like, hey, you have this DG, get this warrior, right? We're drop the warrior directly rather than having this middle step.
I understand. Yeah. One, it's kind of fun. I mean, that's the first reason. Like and if you look at the dynamics between the spirits and the heroes, like those spirits are all going to get burned eventually, or maybe not. Like most of them will. Right now, there's like 500 left.
Yeah.
And if we do, so we're trying to create an interesting dynamic between, keeping and burning, essentially. And there is a little bit of some psychology going on where some people are like, I want to be the last spirit ever. Right. So there's a little bit of some game there. Well, there's a lot of game theory going on there. And the other thing that happens is if they don't, the hero, the next thing that we're going to do, the Genesis and the hero get an airdrop, right? If there's no hero, if there's only 1,500 heroes, that means there's 1,500 airdrops for heroes and 2,000 airdrops for digis. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see like the lopsidedness and all of that? And like rarity starts flowing from that. So it's more about like letting people make decisions. Like we're very vocal around like this is the best decision. Okay.
Yeah.
But we give you the option to make other decisions. Like I don't know what people like. Maybe people don't want it anymore. I don't know. It's like whatever. Okay, it's up to you. So
freedom. Yeah, freedom.
Yeah,
is fun,
You have free, but everything has its own set of consequences, and with the spirits, there's kind of this interesting like dark horse kind of consequence where it's like maybe you're the last spirit holder a year from now or something.
Yeah. People love playing with that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so there's no, but we're always clear, like, hey, this is what we think you should do, but here's all the other things you can do if you want to. Yeah. So, like, we're not like that's the point. The point is to kind of like, and I've said this before, is to really reward the people who stick around and like focus and like do the task, I guess. And like I said, if all the heroes aren't made, that's a lot less hero airdrops, right? That's not 2,000 anymore.
Yeah.
And all of that spills out over time. Like all of those effects of some spirits left over, some heroes, some whatever. Yeah. All of those things. It's
exponential.
But it also creates more rarity as a result.
Yeah, no, it's a super super fun dynamic. I was just wondering, but
so we're trying to like make an engaging process and really reward people who like what we're doing.
Yeah, you definitely are, and I'm one of those people. So I'm just waiting for the Kuroro integration with Digis, and I'll be.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay.
But Gabe, thank you so much for answering the questions, and big fan here. So I'll keep following. Bye bye.
Thank you. Let's see. Hey, I guess I could go back to Entonology. Is that your name? I can't see your full name. So
it's Entologist.
Entologist. Okay.
Yeah. I think I just got one more question, and then I'll hop off and let someone else come up and speak. But my question is around just on this conversation of making sure the games are ungated and people can play it in order to bring more people into the space. I guess. What are your thoughts on scholarships, and is there a place for it in the game?
Scholarships I'm not really a fan of how they went down. Let's just put it that way. I think there is opportunities for like renting and things because like scholarships kind of like a rental model in a way. Right. And I think rentals are really interesting and will be a thing for sure. I think the idea of like starting in debt is not exactly great. So I think of scholarships, it's like they're kind of like working their way out of debt. I don't know. Like someone could make a great game out of that, and it could be awesome. Whatever. Like I'm not like the biggest fan of that, but. Rentals are similar, I guess, and I think those are really cool.
Yeah, I think the appealing or the Web3 appealing side of it was that, if you own this NFT, you could potentially be earning and have someone else be playing. So I think that's, one
we have things like that already in the ecosystem with the adventure keys. So when we did the collaboration with Castaways, one way that we could have done it is that you take your wallet and you log in and you put your digi in your wallet and you just log into Castaways. But we thought if we connect that it was if someone wanted to play as a digi in Castaways, for example, and they didn't own a digi, well, they've got to go buy a whole digi. So what we decided was, I think a better way to do it would be to make a derivative of the digi, a key essentially for Castaways. So now you have a much more focused item that is used strictly for Castaways to play in the digi event. So if you're a digi owner and you don't want to play Castaways, that's fine. Like you don't have to sell your whole digi to someone who wants to play Castaways. You just let them have the key instead. So I think that's a much more scalable model, because if you extrapolate that, we can make a unique key for every game.
Right.
And now, like, if I want to play as a digi in the next game, I don't need a digi. I just need a key. Does that make sense? It's a little bit abstract and it's new, but I think it's a much better way to do it. So you kind of have this model now where if you don't want to play, and the digi that you get in Castaways is going to be there forever. So even after the event is gone, we're going to do another event later. So we're just going to keep doing events in the game. And if you want to play as the digi 2 years from now, if Castaways gets 1 million players, let's just say, and Dayton's doing a really good job, but let's just say Castaways becomes this huge game. There's still only 2,000 digi keys to play as a digi in Castaways. So one of those 1 million players would be like, I want to play as that digi character. And the only way they can do it is by getting the key. So that's a way where it's a very scalable model where, like, we kind of go into other people's games, and in order to play as that character, they have, and we didn't the keys go to the Genesis holders. Okay. So, like, it's not like we got them and then we gave to them. So they get to decide what to do with it. So it's a similar type of thing what you just mentioned with Scholars, but I think better in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I think it's just really interesting how the conversation of gaming and Web3 is coming out, and I think Digi's really pushing the needle here in terms of coming up with a whole new way of doing things, and it'll be really interesting to see how things play out. I think on one end, I know most projects tend to slight more towards hooks that can reward holders and how you can continue to build on that, and I think it's just really interesting your viewpoint on it. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing, and I'll hop off now, and
thank you for your question.
Looking.
Thank you.
Yo, guess who got a new monitor for the reveal? What's good?
How's it going?
Oh my god!
Did you get the curved one? Did you get the huge one?
No, it's too big to fit in my room. The corner of my room. I think it's huge. So, Crispy Boy wants to know if it can be played offline. He does not have good reception in his bomb shelter.
Crispy Boy, what, a game? Can a game be played offline?
Yeah.
We'll see.
What time is the reveal tomorrow? Because I haven't been in the chat too much, but
it'll be in the afternoon.
Beautiful.
It's always the afternoon, because it's like setting up anytime you touch blockchain, like, I almost want to film it, like, just so everybody sees what it takes. It's like we have this huge, like, 90-step process, and it's like launching a space shuttle basically, and we do each process one by one, and everybody signs off on every single step, because it's such a serious endeavor to do anything on blockchain. It's very tense, to be honest. Even doing a reveal is tense.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't doubt it. I love the way you guys are doing things, man. The way you're in the chat all the time, with the people. It's awesome. You know what?
Hopefully,
tomorrow,
hopefully your next monitor survives the next stages.
Oh, it's going to be the Holy Grail tomorrow. It's just going to light up, like, with golden shine behind it as Digi pops up.
You need the Hummer H2 version of monitors.
Yeah, I know. I need some kind of
armor. Yeah.
But all right. Thanks. Good talking to you, bro.
Yeah. Go ahead. Thank you. All right, Richard. What's up, Richard? Richard manages our Discord, by the way.
Yo,
how you doing,
Gabe?
Richard? Hey.
What's up, man? How's it going?
He does a great job. Best Discord company out there. No, I'm serious. You guys do a great job. You notice how everybody's copying that format now? It's like the format, our Discord format.
I love it. I love to see it.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about. You've talked about in the past, like, how Web3 and ownership provide some unique game mechanics.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun to watch kind of the collection games spawn up inside of, just with Genesis, Spirits, and Heroes. I'm just curious how you think about game design in Web3 and like what are some of the unique challenges that come from it?
There's a lot of challenges. You have to be. I would say, okay, so free to play games are very tough to run. Like the community, everybody knows you're trying to make money. I mean, because you have to make money. You gave away the game for free, and they like the game. That's why they're playing it. But they don't like how sometimes it's okay if you make, sometimes it's not. It's really tough to balance because you're trying to run a business too. It can be very contentious. And with Web3, there's a lot of things that are better because the like for Digi, for example, Genesis, like the better we do, the better they do, and so there's a lot of alignment between us and the collectors. They want us to succeed, whereas in a free to play game, they don't really necessarily want you to succeed. They just want you to give away everything for free. So it's a better, I think in that way it's better. I think the difficulty around this, like scams in Web3, there's been so many. Like I cannot get Twitter to verify me. I've tried 5 times, and there's all kinds of fake accounts, and they're doing all kinds of like crazy wallet draining stuff. That stuff is just going to get bigger. So educating players about that is going to be tough because they're going to be coming from video games, where none of this stuff happens. And now all of a sudden they're going to be playing these games and loving them, and then they're going to have all these new risks that they didn't have before. So that's going to be really tough. As for the game design side, you're dealing with like fixed amounts. Like you have to be really careful how you put like stats in games. When like I think there was a card game, I won't say the name, but they had some cards where they put all of like the power and stuff, like the strength, attack, defense, or whatever, directly on chain. And of course, inevitably you make a mistake, and they did, and it created this superpower card that just basically broke the game, and there was no way to fix it because it was on chain. So you have to be very, very careful, because we're making like hybrid games, or like on and off chain. But anything you do on chain is potentially disastrous. So you have to be extremely careful with how you manage that. And it's a new way of thinking for game developers that nobody, including myself, nobody's used to it. Like because games have like thousands of items, they've got all kinds of different power-ups, whatever, and you put all that stuff on chain, it can get really, really tricky really fast. So I think the level of thought that you have to put into, because in Web 2 you could just do it, and I made a mistake, whatever, you just change it. It's not a big deal. Web 3 you can't. So anytime we work in Web 3, we're very, very careful about what we do. So it's a new level of care that doesn't exist in Web 2. I would describe Web 2 as almost carefree in comparison. Like you just do whatever, it doesn't matter, and you just fix it. Here you have to be like being careful. Calling it being careful is an understatement. It's extremely stressful, and so like making games in that environment is very, very tough, and you have to be perfect, essentially. So if you have to be perfect, then you have to be very choosy on what you do and how you do it.
Amazing, Gabe. Thanks for the answer.
Yeah, no problem. Remnant?
Yo,
Hey.
hey again. Would love to hear anything about what y'all have built so far in terms of like the game or the lore or like mechanics. Like, is there a world map? Are there pets? Or is there what is this world like? Like anything you can say, but more specific.
Well,
Like,
I can't look like we're seeing.
You said 3D MMO, right?
Yeah, we're doing MMOs, yeah, 3D MMOs, and you can gather that just from our job page. You know, you can see what we're
Yeah.
hiring for, and you can tell the art style, and like I said, we're seeing other NFT projects get into some issues because of I am like 99% sure I know what's going on, and I'm not because like look, here's the thing. Everybody in Web3 raises money from the same people. It's like the same VCs, right? It's all the same VCs. And everybody uses the same lawyers, by the way. There's not that, especially if you're in the US, like there's not that many lawyers that even really do this stuff. And especially if you raise money, then they go to the top lawyers, right? Like we work with the top lawyers. Everybody works with the same top lawyers. So it gets around what's going on. Okay. Like everybody kind of knows what's going on with everybody.
Even if we're talking past tense here,
it gets around really quick. I mean, because like they get off the phone with one company and then they're talking to you. So everybody, the lawyers, and there's not that many of them. There's a handful of them that everybody pretty much works with. They kind of have the current situation, like the current, like whatever the current thing is, and they know that months before it gets out to the public.
That's why people be getting these phone calls.
Yeah, so it's like but like there's certain things that some other companies have been doing that I was kind of surprised about that they even did, because it was obviously risky and they did it anyways. And one of those things that is extremely gray area are roadmaps. So, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Another one is royalties, which are like not gray area at all. So, in my opinion, well, I think everybody agrees on that. So there's a lot of things that they're doing that were just kind of like, wow, like I was just kind of shocked about. Like, okay, and now
game dev is a massive multi-billion-dollar business.
They're seeing the
filled with
results
companies that out-earn some other countries.
And we raised a lot of money, and we're going to be doing a lot of marketing, and so we're going to get a lot of attention. So we have to do things the right way.
Makes sense. But maybe Hero Reveal tomorrow will give us a little bit of a peek of what's coming.
Yeah.
We have, I can't see anybody's full Poop Shakes. What's up?
Hey.
How you doing? Hey,
Good. Just a generic Gabe question. So,
sure, go ahead.
What were the biggest lessons learned from your last blockchain venture prior to Digi?
I was making a game in 2017, and unfortunately, it didn't come out. But I spent about a year and a half on it, and it was such a different time back then. It was everything. This was like the CryptoKitties days, and while I was still at MZ, so like the kinds of stuff I was thinking about was a lot less advanced than the stuff on the crypto side than the stuff that we're thinking about now. But in general, what I would say is the level of care that you have to, like the amount of work that you have to do ahead of time and during and after. It's, like I said before, it's just so much different than making a Web 2 video game that it's like you have to operate almost like military or something like that. So it's a really intense environment to work in on a blockchain.
Cool. That's all I had.
Oh,
Appreciate
okay, yeah, no problem. All right, how about?
it.
Hey, Dith, how are you? That's your name,
Gabriel.
Dith?
That's right. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Well, Gabe, firstly, thanks for just making the last few weeks so fun, man. Honestly, having you join Web3 has been great. The memes, the vibes, the way that you've accepted your profile photo coming to life and still my wallpaper, man. Obviously,
It's definitely one of the big surprises. I didn't even think about my profile photo when all this happened.
no, I need to
still had
submit an
it.
official complaint. I've had too many. I can't sit in coffee shops anymore. There's too many women swarming all over my laptop. Need to know what this wallpaper is.
Who that handsome man is.
It's a real problem.
Okay.
No, but in all seriousness, it's been tremendously fun to see how you operate in the space, and I think there's many friends of mine who feel the same.
Awesome, thank you.
But I think my question is, I'm really curious how you're thinking about building the game. Obviously, like news about the Super Bowl ad is awesome. Looking forward to hero reveal, all that really good stuff. But I think being someone that's built and shipped products, not games, but other tech products, my mind always defaults back to just the importance of having a great product that people love and want to spend time with. And I know there's not too much you can share about the game just yet, but I'd love to hear about some of the great gameplay loops that you've personally experienced in other games, things that have maybe inspired you, or that you just kind of see as having set a great example of things that kind of like just make people fall in love with games, and maybe along the similar lines that we may have seen.
Yeah. So I'll answer this in two ways. So when I was at MZ, we started off with these like Mafia War style games. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's like an old Facebook game, and they did really well. We were a small company, and they did. We were making money on them, and then I kind of got into these. What they were called SL. Somehow they got renamed to 4X games, but at the time they were called SLG simulation games. War, and I based it off of a lot of Chinese games. And when I made the game, I said, "This is I said, I'm not saying this now, but at the time, I was like, okay, like we were a small company, we're doing all right, and I was like, I wanted to get something that would be bigger because the kind of games that we were making before just could not, they were like text-based, type of games, like they're not going to get really big, right?" And so I made Game of War, but when I was making it, I purposefully said, this is a game not everybody wants to play. Almost nobody wants to play this game, but the few people who do want to play this game, it's going to be their favorite game. And so I did a lot of like counterintuitive stuff. I made it very complex. I put buttons everywhere. And at the time, everybody was talking about Supercell. And Supercell was like the savior of mobile games because their UI and UX was so good and it was so easy and so simple and all that stuff. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to do the exact opposite of this. I'm going to do the opposite because everybody is doing that. So I'm going to make something with like 1 million buttons instead. And the people who like that, because there are people who like that, they're going to think this is the best game ever. And it worked out. That's pretty much exactly how it went down. Most people didn't like it, and a few people did, and they loved it. Like the people who played it loved it, but it was ultimately a small number of people. So I did that, and then we did Mobile Strike, and then we did Final Fantasy, A New Empire, and they were all like kind of niche games. They were niche games, but they were all billion-dollar games at the same time. Because the people who liked the game loved it. So they had they spent money on it because they loved it. So it was a very kind of like it was like a good strategy for the business, but ultimately, like when I started Limit Break, it's like, well, I know how to like monetize the game. I know how to do that. I know I do that better than anybody. So I don't really like struggle with that. That most people do struggle with that, by the way. I don't struggle with that, so I don't have a struggle there. So when I think about games, like, well, making money, like for me, that's pretty easy. Like it's not a challenge to make money in a game. But what I didn't do at MZ was get 100 million players. That's what I didn't do. And I did a lot of marketing. I did a lot of stuff, but ultimately it was just, a very small number of people. And this time around, and I think that was like, it was a good decision at the time. I mean, obviously like the results were really good, but this time around, I want to make some games that everybody plays. So, back then I thought like, oh, well, I was learning a lot as I was going along. I designed every game from iMob all the way up to Final Fantasy. I personally designed every game, and I learned a lot every game. Like every game got better than the last one. But I never really like focused on trying to make something that everybody liked. So I'm doing that differently this time around. I am. And so as for games that I like, I tend to really like Chinese games. I don't know why, but I do. And so I really like Genshin Impact a lot. And I like a lot of the games, like a lot of Japanese games. I like, or to go back to China, I like Lilith a lot. AFK Arena is a game that I played a lot. I thought that was a really well done game. I like casual games too, like the puzzle games. I play a lot of those. I like MMOs. I was a big EVE Online fan. I went to Iceland for 2 weeks and hung out with Hilmar, the CEO of CCP, and I was really into it. And at MZ, I wasn't trying to. I was like, I want to be like 10% like CCP. Because you go to CCP and they're like, our game is real. That's what he says. He said EVE is it's real life. And he means it when he says it. It sounds crazy, but he means it. So that's like a totally different approach. But I tend to like more online games that with a lot of interaction, like clan interaction, event-driven stuff. That's the stuff that I really like. So, that's a kind of a like free to play, like mobile free to play, basically. But I think mobile free to play is being defined by China at this point. Like Chinese style is the dominant style, and I happen to like that a lot. But this time around, I am making games that everyone can play. And I'm really focusing on that. Because we're very privileged to have raised a lot of money and to be able to hire really great people. At MZ, there was a lot of it all the way up to Game of War was a struggle. Yeah, so this time around we can take a more thoughtful approach. I'm not sure if that answers your question though.
Yeah, it does. Thanks, Gabe. Actually, a follow-on talking about team members. I'm curious that you kind of got this interesting dual-pronged approach in that you're building a game of your own, but there's also the Adventure ERC 721 contract, which kind of is enables others to kind of access the Digi ecosystem. It kind of gives you these like two different distribution channels or levers in a way. How have you oriented your team and resources around that? Like, do you see
they're split? They're split. Like that's like blockchain side and like people working in Unity. These are two very different practices. So they don't they overlap with each other through integration, but not in the development is very different. Like how you work in blockchain is like everything we put out is audited by at least two companies, two auditing firms, but sometimes three. So it's just a different pace, different style of work. So it's divided up in a way where they don't really like interfere with each other.
And what can you share in terms of the? I mean, it's been fun seeing other founders kind of like engage with us in the Discord or engage with you on Twitter, and there's like some fun speculation happening around, you know, which other known NFT or Web3 projects may build on Adventure ERC 721. Well, what can you share in terms of how you've been kind of like prioritizing or trying to get those in order?
We've got like at least a dozen games that want to integrate with Digi right now. We actually have and we haven't really started reaching out. It's just been random people. Like some of them are really good games too. Have just been connecting to us to me on DM. We want to get Castaways working because we still have the next part, which is connecting the key to the game and then having all the payouts for the NFTs and all that stuff to happen. So I really appreciate Dayton at Branch, who's running Castaways, for taking this leap with us, because there's a lot of, anytime you do something for the first time, it's always a challenge, and he's been really great at sticking through this with us. But once it gets done and we productize it, like I said, I want to be in I don't know if I can, but I want to be in 1,000 games. And I think we have the right mechanism to do it. And I think that once people really absorb what we've done with Castaways and what we do with the next collaborations, that I think this is going to be adopted in a big way, because the derivative key is a much better system for the Genesis collector, because it's way better for them. And so if you if you think about that and then you scale it to 1,000 games, and the Genesis holder potentially gets 1,000 different keys into 1,000 different universes with its own communities in each universe, that's a big deal. That's awesome. So that's the vision there. And mainly, we want to. I've been making Web 2 games. Well, first arcade games. I guess I call those not even Web 1. It's like video game version 1, and then going into apps and free to play games. What we're doing with Adventure Keys is actually new. It's actually a new thing that you cannot do in Web 2, and that's super exciting for me as a designer, because I came up with that, and it was my idea, and it's let's do it, and it's working, and I want to do things that you can't do. And that's one of the things that really drives me crazy is this from the Web 2 side, is they say, what you always hear this, what new gameplay thing can you do in Web 3 that you can't do in Web 2? What? First of all, it's a lot of game developers say that. And it's isn't your job to be creative? You're supposed to be creative, right? And you can't come up with anything. So that's kind of funny to me. But there's a lot of things you can do in Web 3 that you cannot do in Web 2. And one example are these adventure keys. If you try to do a collaboration in Web 2, it's all by hand. Everything is by hand. There's no way to abstract it out. I mean, I guess you could, but in the real reality of the situation is it's not scalable like a smart contract is. We're going to get to the point where people can plug themselves into the Digi universe. That's. I mean, you could technically do that in Web 2, but not in the same way. That's for sure. So
it strikes me that the other piece to that is, I mean, I hear or you take the parallel of movies, right? This whole debacle around trying to get Spider-Man back into the Marvel universe, right?
Sure.
There's always the licensing and IP thing that just tends
we
to
can
get
do all
stuck
that through smart contracts now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's not trivial. That's not a trivial thing. It's not a trivial thing to be able to move IP from one world to the other through a smart contract. That's not trivial. And anybody who says it's trivial is crazy. They've never tried to do any, they've never tried to do a license deal, I guess. They don't really know what it's like. So I think that the interoperability is one of the most exciting parts about Web3, and games should be built with the idea that every NFT will work in some capacity inside your game. That's how I think about it. Like every NFT, everything, an Azuki, whatever, all of them, they should all serve some function inside my game. Because why wouldn't I? I want those people to play my games. Of course, you've got all these people, huge active Azuki community. It's amazing. They're like constantly trending on Twitter. Like these people are really serious, right? They love their Azukis. Why wouldn't I want to support Azukis in my game? Of course I would. Right? So there's thoughtful ways to do that, and I'm thinking really hard about that.
So maybe one last one, because I've really been kind of hogging the mic. But thanks for answering all my questions. I think my read of the state of play right now, with the eyes that are on Digi, with I think there's this sort of like sentiment amongst folks that is bullish for the space, that there are seasoned operators like yourself entering and doing stuff like Adventure ERC 721, which kind of is like, rising tide lifts all boats. And by the time we have Super Bowl ads on and stuff, I really think by next year we're going to see a lot of NFT teams suddenly thinking like, shit, we should be building a game, right? Like,
I don't think they have I don't think they have a choice.
I think that's really going to become like the next wave of the meta.
Not all of them. There's art. But I think a lot of these NFT projects are. NFTs work best in games. I mean, there is art. I do believe in all of that, but still, like NFTs work best in games. So I think it's natural for everybody to want to start making games.
Yeah, let's make gaming great again.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Gabe.
Yeah, no problem. All right. I don't see any hands up. I think that was a pretty long one. Pretty long.
Thank you, Gabe. Was so fun, man.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys. So I'm gonna log off and get back to work. I hope I answered some of the. At least I gave as much of an answer as I could, and I hope everybody's excited about us doing this crazy stuff on Super Bowl and everything else that we're doing. We have Heroes tomorrow. Hero and Genesis airdrop information tomorrow. I'm pretty sure Castaways is next week, and we're moving here. We're shipping. We're shipping. We're ramping. We're doing it.
Let's go.
And we've got plans for October, November, December, January. It's like we're going to keep moving, and we hope everybody's excited, because ultimately we're just trying to make the Digi community excited about us. So that's what we want, and we dedicate our time to doing that, and I hope you guys are happy and impressed, and if not, we'll just keep working until you are. All right, everybody.